Well, if you've been driving down the road lately, this time of year in the fall is one of our prettiest times of year for wildflowers. And today we have with us Dr. John Dole, who is an assistant professor in our horticulture department. And you've seen Dr. Dole before talk about some of his wildflower studies. We've got some here today, Dr. Dole. Tell us what kind these are.
This one is the annual sunflower. It's reaching its peak this time of the year. Large patches of it along the highway and along roadsides.
What are some other common wildflowers this time of year that we might see on the side of the road?
Snow on the mountain. It's a white mound. Various other sunflower species. Maximilian sunflower. Also liatris, a purple spike, very attractive.
And what about goldenrod? That one's pretty much all over the state, isn't it?
That's a very common one, found just about everywhere. Real nice one, yes.
Well, a lot of people that notice wildflowers are also familiar with the fact that we're getting more interested in them, and a lot of the states are starting different wildflower programs and planting a lot of them. How would we go about collecting wildflower seed, or would we dig up the plant? What's the best way to collect a wildflower for us to use at home?
Well, first of all, we'd probably collect seed like you did on the previous show with plants in your garden. Digging up wildflowers is difficult. They don't transplant well. Many of them have very long roots, which are difficult to dig up. Plus, because the chance of success is so slight, you really don't want to dig up the plants in the field and reduce what's already in the field. The easiest way is to collect the seed, like you had talked about before.
All right, so we would just collect the dried seed on some of these like we did our sunflower in our studio garden then.
Correct, yes.
Okay. What about, there's a lot of concern I know with a lot of people as far as if people start collecting a lot of seed in the plants, we might disturb the natural plants. What advice do you have for us as far as collecting seed? Should we collect all the seed on one plant or several plants? What do you suggest?
The thing you want to do is not collect all the seed. You want to be sure to leave seed for the plants to start anew the next year. Generally what you want to do is pick, like on this sunflower here, after the seed becomes more ripe, you'd want to go in and maybe take 1 or 2 heads, then go to another plant and take 1 or 2 heads, and so forth until you got enough seed. You really don't want to collect more than a quarter of the available seed.
Well, what about endangered species? They really should check to make sure if it's an endangered species, because there's some plants that we don't want to disturb at all. Is that true?
That's very true. There are several species that are endangered or threatened in Oklahoma. They have very low numbers, and you want to be sure that you know what you're collecting.
Also, the same would go if you're going to go into someone's pasture. You want to make sure you get permission, or if you're along the side of the state road, I guess that's okay, but it still probably wouldn't hurt for them to check with their Department of Transportation just to make sure it's okay to collect these.
Right.
We have some companies here in the state of Oklahoma that actually collect and produce wildflower seeds. So I think one thing that you'd want to do is make sure you check with some of the garden centers to make sure that our seeds adapted for this area. Why don't you tell us about those companies?
There are 3 companies within the state. They're doing a nice job of growing or collecting wildflowers that are suited to Oklahoma. Wildflower seed from other parts of the country may not be the best for Oklahoma. The companies include Johnson Seed Company, Grasslander Seed, and Guy Seed.
Well, Dr. Doe, we want to thank you for being with us today, and because of all the interest in wildflowers, we're going to put a little wildflower plot in at our studio site. So why don't you join us, and we'll go now and talk a little bit about preparation and wildflower planting. Well, we've decided to put our wildflower plot here on the south side of our studio gardens, and we've chosen an area that gets full sun. As you can see, the grass is starting to die on us because Dennis Scott, our graduate assistant, sprayed with a little bit of Roundup or glyphosate to kill out our weeds. You'll also notice that we've tilled up a little area here, and Brett Nichols, our work study from Elk City, has done this, and Brett's new here on Oklahoma Gardening, and we want to sure thank him for all his hard work as well. We've chosen a 100 square foot area here, and the reason that we've only tilled up half of the area because we want to try a little experiment. As you know, we've tried a plot here that's had a lot of weed seeds and a lot of grass and weeds in the past. So we want to try a little experiment and keep from germinating a lot of those weed seeds in with our wildflower bed. So what we've done is we've tilled up our plot. Hopefully some of these seeds will come up, and this area eventually we'll plant it and try to cover it with some straw and experiment on that. But fall is a good time to plant our wildflowers, and the first thing that we want to do here is water in our area, because we're going to try soil solarization, which you've seen here on the show quite a few times. So we'll water in the area, and we're going to plant our wildflowers actually in a couple of 3 weeks because it's still a little warm, and we can plant wildflowers in the fall as late as or as long as we can get into the soil and it's not frozen over. So we'll water this area in, and the water will help actually collect some heat, and then we'll cover the area with our black plastic. We hope that the black plastic will then hold in enough heat during the next few weeks that we will kill any weed seed or grass that might be growing that we may have missed from using our herbicide. But again, cover the area with plastic. Make sure you've watered it real thoroughly. And we're going to use some bricks here to hold the plastic down, as well as some boards and rebar that we have. Now the fall is really the best time to plant wildflowers because of the freezing and thawing action that goes on during the winter time. But don't let that discourage you if you don't have time to prepare a bed this fall, because you can go ahead and plant your flowers again in the spring as well. Well, that's just about all the time we have here today on the show. We hope you'll join us again next week here on Oklahoma Gardening.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.